Hey everyone, welcome back. This is a really nice little kit. This is the 148 Spitfire Mk.I. Operation Dynamo is the scheme I've gone with. You can see this has come out really nice. It's really a superb kit. It's one of those ones that I will be buying again without hesitation. You can see here it comes with a couple schemes, but I've definitely gone with Operation Dynamo. It's not something I've done before. Just to give you a very quick background, this is the scheme of the evacuation of Dunkirk. And it has that black and white undersurface, which I think was really only for about a year, 6 months. So it is an unusual one and something that you might not have seen before. All of those of you that know your Spitfires will be way ahead of me on that. But it is just an interesting one and one of those very historical ones for a really important period. Okay, onto the kit itself. Absolutely no complaints. The only way you can make a mess of this is deliberately. That's the honest truth. It's not what you would say an expensive kit as such, but by the same token, it's not cheap. I think $60 or something Australian. Either way, I think it's really great value because it is superb. What I'm doing here is just the curves on the stirrups for the rudder pedals. So really just a few light dabs with the toothpick. Toothpick's a go-to of mine, definitely for super glue. You will see me occasionally being a bit impatient and doing it directly, but generally I'll always dab it on with toothpicks. So that's the stirrups there. They were just bent around the ferrule on the paintbrush. I do have a little bender. You don't need these, but it does make life easier. Interestingly, they're not cheap, but you can use just pliers and things if you don't have one. What I'm doing here is really just cleaning up some of this cockpit. And really, you can see here that for 148, and what I would actually say, there is a lot of detail in this kit. And to me, it is one of those interesting ones where when they do put in the effort, and yeah, that sounds bad, but basically when Tamiya really want to, they are hard to beat in just the detail and quality. I do take exception in the sense that Tamiya is definitely not always perfect, but when they do it well, they really do it well. What we're doing here is just that half silvering, and again, I'm no expert on the Spitfires as such, but there was bare metal in a big chunk of the builds, and especially in the earlier ones. For some reason, I did spend a bit of time, interestingly enough, going back and having a look at some of the, I wouldn't even say definitive, but almost argumentative discussions on paint schemes and stuff, where you can get into these weird things about what color the wheel wells were and so on. But my best guess at this point is that it was either that interior green or bare metal. So that's what I've gone with. Interestingly, I've also tended to try and follow the schemes as closely as possible with Tamiya. One reason for that is I've got a bunch of Spitfires I want to do, and I've never really been happy with some of the paints that I've used before, and that's not necessarily the companies as such, just I think it's a color matching issue. So I'll get back into that later, but you can see definitely there's a lot of detail in this cockpit, and if you take your time you won't have any trouble. Actually, I would say again, you almost have to deliberately mess this up, and the only way you can do that is really just being impatient. You don't even, I hesitate a bit here, but I don't think you really even need a massive set of tools or anything. So if you're starting, don't feel that you need to go get this and this and this. In this case, one decent paintbrush, knives and pliers. I'd suggest getting good pliers, but my point here is that you don't need a lot to really get a nice result. So if you're starting, don't get hung up on you need this and this and this. In that sense, the Tamiya kits are really good because they do take a lot of the guesswork out. And every time it comes up, there's always that shake and bake argument, but I think that's almost a bit silly. It gets frustrating when you're really fighting things. But you can see here, detail, really happy with it. No problems at all. It's really pretty sweet. This was one of those ones going into the detail. And like I say, partly I wanted to do this one because I've got a backlog of Spitfires through to 1/32 that I want to do. And I'd rather do my experimenting at this point. Better to do it on $40, $50 kit than $200 one. So the instrument panel, you can see there's no big dramas, but and I really don't know what it was, but where I was going before is I think they're rivets on the seats. So I've even gone into that sort of level of detail on this build. Again, just a few extra details on the instrument panel. I'm really just following some reference photos. The gold, I'm not sure what it is. Someone can tell me what that dial is, and to be honest, I feel a bit silly now, just realizing I've been painting it for years and I don't know what it is on the control yoke. Like the figures, excellent. Again, Tamiya has always been, at least in my mind, a bit ahead of some of the others. One of my other favorite companies can do some shocking figures. But you can see here, again, taking a bit of care and time, I was really happy with the pilot figures, or the pilot, I should say. One of the interesting things there is, again, this is more in my category of, I realized that I was a bit sloppy on that front, so I have been taking just that little bit of extra care to try and do it right, or at least get a more acceptable result on my figure. So I'm quite happy with how that's come out. This is almost me correcting myself, saying not to directly dab your glue on, but I did in that case. What it is, this is just the metal harness coming through. It's a bit fiddly, but yeah, again, if you're patient, you'll get really nice result. So that's basically the cockpit done. We're really on to the fuselage. Just be a bit careful with the fuselage going together. Make sure you get it right. Don't try and rush it like I did, and then you end up having to come back and fix it anyway. There's no reason with this kit to have any problems in that sense. As an example, the only reason these wing sections wouldn't fit together is if you don't take the time just to clean it up. And like most Tamiya, there's barely any cleanup. That's the machine guns. One of those ones where, I paint it black. I was following the instructions, but I'm not sure really it made much difference. So again, the wing sections go together perfectly. Absolutely no issues at all. You would have to really, like I say, almost do it deliberately to mess this up. The nose cowling itself was, or the upper surface of that cowling was an interesting one. It's not necessarily even a complaint or anything, but it can slide laterally, so just make sure you get that right. The metal, the etchings in this case were superb. Really, really nice. The annealing on them, again, no problems at all. The bending and folding is perfect. And the reason I say that is I do think some kits, it can just be just too thick, so that makes it hard to work, even cut. And especially when you're dealing with thin traces. So the metal work included in this kit is excellent. This is the oil cooler, if I'm getting things right. Again, really, really nice. And the finish there, really, really happy with. So the kit comes with the masking, etching. The masking in this case is good, especially if you take your time to actually carefully cut it out. You won't have problems. Okay, on to the actual painting. I'm following the Tamiya instructions pretty much to the letter because this was an experiment for me before I go on to other things. What you did see there is a reference photo of a Mark I Spitfire from 1939. So that was what I was aiming for. Like I said, it's just one of those, for some reason I got it in my mind that I want to spend some time being authentic. And this comes from someone who every second video is saying I don't get too hung up on the paints and schemes, but one of the reasons is it's just such a rabbit hole and it can take away the fun, at least for me sometimes. But for the scheme here, the early earth brown green, I really did want to try and get this right, purely because, as I say, I've got a bunch sitting in the stash. When I first saw this, I was like, oh no, this doesn't look right. But that was where I did take a closer look at some of the historical photos. The interesting thing, or the problem, is you would think that there would be a ton of them, but there wasn't many. But the ones I did see did make me feel a lot better. The undersurface in this case is this black and white, and as mentioned, that was just, again, someone in the comments can give a lot more detail on this. I think it's 6-month period that through May and so on. It was one of those things that, from what I understand, it half worked. It was half successful, which interestingly you've got black and white. So I think in Operation Dynamo at Dunkirk it actually was useful. I've got to go back and have a look at the movie itself. I'm just curious if they did get that right, but one of those ones. Again, I'm happy to see what comments and people come up with that, because yeah, one of those great moments in history, and definitely a unique sort of plane there. For reference, this is the number 19 squadron. So number 19 squadron, Operation Dynamo, 1940. The decals, yeah, you get into the Tamiya ones are a bit thick. To be honest, on big, if this was bigger scale, and there is an argument to even do it here, you could use a circle cutter to do the roundels. I think it actually would, well, obviously it would be better. The hesitation I have sometimes is the color matching. I think there is insignia red and the blue, but yeah, it's just one of those ones I'll probably get to at some point. And it was, and really my focus in this build was on just trying to get those earth colors right. I'm not quite sure if I did. Like I say, I followed almost to the letter the Tamiya instructions this time. Happy with them given the reference photos. What you just saw there is I did drill out the exhaust. I use Mr. Mark softener. I do have a bunch of them, but that seems to be the one I go to. Just now we're really on to just straight up decals. I know some of you will be thinking, yeah, you need a lot of softener because you're using Tamiya decals, but again, I don't have huge problems with that, because what I will do with the softener, whether you're using Microsol or whatever you're using, over a few days, well, in this case it sits on my desk maybe a week, and as I come past I'll sometimes just touch up and add some more softener and so on, so I do lose that thickness. I've also gone into pedantic mode or whatever, doing the full rigging on this one, because I actually think it is worth it. It is a really, really nice kit. So yeah, it didn't bother me just going to that extra level of detail to do like the radio antennas or the wiring and so on. For weathering, I didn't go, again, I'm not a huge fan on heavy weathering anyway, but I wanted this to look used. I mean, obviously it's Operation Dynamo. That was a scary, what was it, roughly a week, 4 days or something like that. So I've even opened up the gun ports. I think this was, again, someone in the comments let me know, I think it was like a red card or paper, maybe, that was almost glued over the gun ports to keep them. I think they had trouble with them freezing up and so on back in the original early days. So I've tried to make, from my point of view, the weathering, tried to give it that sort of, I mean, these were relatively new planes at the time, but obviously some heavy work going on for those few days. Anyway, that's it. I do hope you've enjoyed it. It was an interesting one. Highly recommend it. Love to hear from you in the comments. See you soon. Bye bye.